Hello and welcome back. The FGT for Aion2 in Korea is over now, and whilst we didn't get any new footage or nothing official, we did get quite a lot of infos from Korean testers. Now the credit for most of this info goes to the Aion2 community Discord. They really do a great job at gathering all the info, translating it, and then even summarizing it. So if you want to stay up to date as quickly as possible, definitely join the Aion2 community Discord. I will put the link into the description. So let's get into the FGT reviews. Overall, a lot of the reviews compared Aion2 to games like Terra, Black Desert, Blade and Soul, Throne and Liberty, or even to Lost Ark. But one thing they agreed upon was that the game looked stunning, thanks to the game being built in Unreal Engine 5. As a comparison, Throne and Liberty also was praised that it had beautiful environments, but that was in Unreal Engine 4, and Aion2 is in Unreal Engine 5, so one Korean tester said Throne and Liberty simply can't compare to the beauty of Aion2. And not just the game itself looks stunning, the character creator was by many testers praised as the best character creator they had ever seen, with so many details to adjust. So for everyone that enjoys spending hours in the character creator, you are gonna have a good time. Now when it comes to the leveling, it was pretty fast, with testers reaching around level 20 and then being boosted to the max level for the FGT, which was level 45. The UI was one thing that has been criticized during the FGT. Many testers complained that it was feeling too cramped and just felt too much like a mobile game UI than it would be for a PC game. But these testers also mentioned that the developers were very open to this specific feedback about the UI, so hopefully they will find a good solution in the next few months. Let's talk a bit about the mounts. Mounts can drop from monsters, but they appear to be more as collectibles than really important things to have. There was only a very limited amount of feedback about the mounts, but the info that they might not be important, but instead more for collectibles, is actually exciting to me. Because the original Aion game didn't really have these collectible things. You couldn't collect mounts because a lot of them were timed. You couldn't collect pets because they were monetized. You also couldn't collect titles. You couldn't collect different armor pieces and keep them in your wardrobe like you can in, for example, World of Warcraft. So I really hope that we get something similar in Aion2. Now let's get to the gameplay and the combat system. The combat felt like a hybrid of the original Aion game and games like Blade and Soul or Black Desert. The game has two different modes. Action mode, which is the usual non-target action combat, and that is favored for PvE content or raids. And the second one is the classic mode, which is more like the original Aion game with targeting. This is favored for PvP. In terms of amount of skills, Aion2 has 8 slots, 4 basic skills and 4 stigma skills. Now that is not all, because there are chain skills and extra hotkeys, but this is all we know for now. The movement apparently feels very good, it's fast paced and you can dodge with the spacebar. The PvE was highly praised by the testers, because the combat felt fluid. The dungeons were cinematic and well designed, and the boss encounters were also great. The PvP, however, was more negatively received. It felt like it lacked impact, and you could flee from the fight too easily. For the PvP, we at least know that there were 1v1 and 4v4 arenas, as well as the typical raid and siege content. One thing that was very exciting for me, as someone that likes to explore and likes the story and lore of Aion, is that the exploration aspect of Aion2 was praised into oblivion and beyond. Apparently there are many hidden dungeons and other things to explore beyond the beaten path. While you can fly freely in Aion2, that does not mean that you can fly endlessly. Quite the opposite actually. The flight time is very limited, so while you can fly freely, you should certainly plan your flight route before spreading your wings. The same goes for underwater exploration. Underwater combat is in the game, finally, after more than 10 years from the Aion Vision trailer. But whilst you are underwater, there is a breath gauge that you have to keep in mind. Now we can talk a bit more about the combat itself. All classes have AoE skills, and all classes also benefit from back attacks. Paying attention to the telegraphs of the enemy skills and actually dodging them is very important. If you stand still, you will get punished. There were also no MP potions. You regenerate your mana by auto-attacking or simply by waiting. So resource management actually matters a lot. The raids and dungeons are focused on 4-player content. Dungeon design includes different mechanics that reminded the testers of games like Lost Ark, which is very good, because as bad as the monetization of Lost Ark was, the dungeon design was actually amazing in Lost Ark. Now, before we get into the class descriptions, we have one more negative point to discuss: the monetization. Even the Korean testers expressed strong concerns about NCSoft's monetization practices in the past. Apparently, during the FGT, two big things were in the game. First of all, the dungeon re-entry, meaning, hey, you only have one entry per week? Well, if you pay money, you can enter a second time this week. Something like that. And the second thing that was monetized were instant revives, which obviously are very effective in both PvP and PvE. Hopefully they will overthink this and not add this into Aion2. Now let's get to the feedback about the classes. This comes specifically from one Korean player who played Aion for over 10 years, and she got to test all classes to some extent during the FGT. Let's start with the Gladiator. Well, the Gladiator is an offensive warrior, and therefore takes the role of a DPS. The class did underperform during the FGT. The playstyle felt very slow and clunky, with the heavy attacks lacking the big impact that you would imagine them to have. So the tester expects the Gladiator receiving either a big rework or big buffs before the release. The Templar, on the other hand, was greatly improved in comparison to the first Aion game. The Templar, for those that do not know, is the main tank in Aion, and that doesn't change in Aion2. The Templar is much more flexible, and he has much more mobility in Aion2 now. His attacks are fluid, his pulls are flashy, and all of that does not reduce his survivability as the main tank. The Templar was praised as the best improvement of all classes compared to the previous versions in the original Aion game. Now the Spirit Master will do the same as in the original game, play with his spirits. But the summons are large, fast and very powerful, and it seems like his spirits will not be only for spirit substitution, like many people use it in the first Aion game. The pets also got an overhaul with a very strong visual appeal. And the tester even mentions that the summons can grow to raid boss size in PvP, and they can do massive AoE damage. I have no clue what that means. I don't want to have 20 huge fire spirits fighting each other and killing everything around them. Let's move on to the Sorcerer. Well, their playstyle in Aion Classic these days revolves much more about instant damage and basically no cast time. That is not the case with Sorcerers in Aion2. In Aion2, the Sorcerer will have long cast animations, but also very powerful and flashy spells. The Sorcerer was praised as one of the most visually appealing classes. Next we have the Assassin. The Assassin is a high burst melee DPS class. During the FGT there was however no stealth skill for the Assassin. The tester assumes that their level was simply too low for that. The playstyle with the Assassin stays pretty much the same as you would expect. They focus on fast dual-wield combos and high damage attacks on the back of the enemy. The combat as an assassin felt very fast, fluent and very satisfying. Now we come to the most popular class during the FGT, the Ranger. This is also what I already told all of you before, that ranged classes feel amazing in such action combat games. So the Ranger is obviously a long-range DPS class. There is not much to say about the Ranger, because as you would expect, the Ranger uses powerful skills to deal a lot of damage with long range. The tester also mentions a lot of AoE skills and that the visuals look stunning and the animations themselves feel very smooth. Okay, let's now get to the main healer. the Cleric. The Cleric was actually good to play solo, because he has good AoE damage and also good sustain. Healing is very straightforward with no cast time. However, the Cleric focuses on AoE heals over single target healing. The action-based healing was very satisfying, but requires you to position yourself very well. To achieve that, the Cleric also has a teleport like dash, as we have already seen in the gameplay trailer. And lastly, we have the best class, the Chanter. The tester defines the role of the Chanter class in Aion2 as a hybrid healer with high DPS and strong self-sustain. Now, high DPS, that's certainly something new if you look at the Chanter in the original Aion game. But it is a pleasant surprise. The playstyle of the Chanter is great for solo play. And while the Chanter lacks single target heals, he excels with AoE regeneration zones. As for the visuals of the Chanter, the tester describes it as very nature themed, with vines and trees and such, and she therefore thinks it is designed to appeal to female players. Well, that surely fits me. You can make it as girly as you like, I will not move away from my Chanter. And that's pretty much it for the different classes. I will leave it here for today. This should give you a quick overview over the different opinions of the FGT testers. If you want to read these reviews yourself, or want to stay up to date about the news regarding Aion2, join the Aion2 community Discord. The link is in the description. So, have a nice day and see you next time. Bye!